This episode of the Blue Collar Real Estate Podcast brought to you by Stacy Mayo and the Scott Miller team at Ruoff Mortgage. Whether you're buying new or refinancing, Ruoff has a solution for you. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Blue Collar Real Estate. I'm Greg Mayo, hanging out here in Studio J, and I've got Ryan Herget on Zoom. Ryan, what is up, my man?
I am doing well, brother. I'm so sorry I could not be live in studio with you guys. I know it's always an awesome time on a Friday at 5 in Studio J, but unfortunately, duty called today, and I only made it halfway there, so I'm sitting back at my house. Yeah, it's been such a crazy whirlwind week, Greg, but it's been awesome because what we've been doing has totally tied into what we're going to be talking about today, which is the trades opportunity within the electrical field. I am uber excited to kind of dive into this today and just got to skim the surface a little bit and show people some opportunity that's out there right now, man.
Well, you know, as you're aware, and people that regularly tune into the show, we started off a couple weeks ago talking about skilled trades, and we decided we wanted to take a week and sort of just each week focus on a different trade, a little history about it. How do you get into it? What are the opportunities going down the road? So when we get down away a little bit, and I don't want to give too much away, but we're going to tap into something that you've been working on with your company, Roofco. So I'm excited about this episode.
Now, it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. So let's kind of dive into the topic. And again, for, everybody out there, reach out to us. I mean, we do this show for, not our benefit. We want to share all the information that we've learned over the years. So like, comment, subscribe, reach out to us. We're going to be doing anything to help you all out. Be sure to, smash the notification button. Whatever you're supposed to do on social media, please remember to do that because we're doing the show to try to help everybody out. And so kind of launching into that, Greg, I mean, I'm excited to dive into, what exists within the electrical field this week because there is, I mean, literally it powers everything that we do. And, everything that we use from our phones to me zooming in right now, it's all using power. And there's so much opportunity within this industry. It's insane right now. So I'm going to let you kind of start it off with like, where did this all start? How do you get into it? And kind of walk us through that, man.
Well, a funny thing, last night I was watching a show about building off grid. And they happened to be in Livingston, Montana, one of my favorite places to be. And it occurred to me about 10 minutes into the show, yeah, they're building off grid, but they're not building off power. They're not living like Jeremiah Johnson. They have other ways to get power, right? Because you're right, electronics power our lives. They truly do. And whether that's good or bad, we can argue about that some other time. Do you think all the way back to the beginning, the first house that was ever powered, that was on September 30th of 1892. So this month is the anniversary's coming up. A guy named Henry Rogers, his buddies called him Hank, and he lived in Appleton, Wisconsin. That was the first house ever powered. Now, since that time, things have changed exponentially, right?
Just a touch, I would say. I mean,
Edison was, I don't know, like, get back out of here. Edison was credited with, of course, the whole electric revolution, but it was really Tesla. We all know that. And just a quick little thing. So we have a difference, DC current and AC current, right? And unlike that televangelist in the 80s, AC/DC doesn't stand for, I don't know, whatever the hell he said it stood for. It stands for alternating current and direct current, right?
And direct current, yeah. You've got current going one way and then current that stops and goes both ways. Yeah,
right.
As in, alternating current, which, believe it or not, I did not know that simple little fact about electricity until about 3 months ago when I started learning about this. So it's not all that complicated if you just learn a few things. So,
no, but anyway, the beauty of it, right, of electricity, of alternating current, of it being able to go out and come back, the longer distances it can travel and all that kind of thing. So Nikola Tesla, wherever you're watching from, brother, thank you very much. But again, since that time, a lot has changed. Even just a few years ago, my grandma's house, when I was a young lad, was built in the late 60s, and she had not only 60 amps for the power coming in. Now we usually have 200 in new builds, right? But they were fuses. Now we've got smart breakers, and we've got all this technology. So it's amazing. And if it's a field you're at all interested in, it's an amazing field to get into, and there's so many stinking opportunities. Do you realize, Ryan, that there are 23 different types of electrician specialties?
No, I totally believe that. And, just reaching, having reached out to, over the last probably 4 or 5 months as we've been getting Roofco, launched off the launch pad, and, we're doing our first solar job right now. And I say that to say this is finding somebody that is specialized in doing solar electrical hookups has been one of my biggest hurdles to cross as a new business, because, man, while it's new and there's certainly people that do it, there's not a lot of them,
That's
and there's
exactly
not a
right.
lot of people that know how to do it. And it's been, I literally, one of my favorite adages, that I ever heard was, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And one of the
Love
things
that.
that's like happened is I literally kind of met this Jedi Master Yoda guy who his entire house is set up with every type of alternative energy product. But he was an old electrician who loved this stuff and totally geeks out on it, and set his entire house up to be powered by this, by different forms of alternative energy. And he's been so instrumental in helping break down something that was so complex and something that so many people are scared of, myself included, and break it down into a simple way of just literally drawing on a napkin how this stuff works. And it's relatively simple, but it's just taking the time to apply it in a specific direction. And oh my gosh, every single thing that we do is powered by energy. Everything,
Yep.
period.
And
So anyway,
speaking
I
of
geeked
being
out a little bit there. So
no, and we expect that, and we actually look forward to it. Jason's over there wiping his eye a little bit because it was so beautiful.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
But on a note about being scared of electricity, when Edison was trying to prove that direct current was better, and he said alternating current was dangerous, you know what Nikola Tesla did? He shocked the beginning out of himself to show that it was safe. Anyway, but don't do that, Ryan. So
no,
I want to talk about the different kinds of electricians. Now, the first one we all think of is residential, right?
yep, yep.
You got
So yeah, like a residential electrician is going to be somebody like, hey, your outlet doesn't work, or you flip the switch and that doesn't work. Somebody that's going to be able to take care of what's going on inside your house.
right. Maybe add a ceiling fan or wire the whole house when it's built, right?
There you go. Yep.
Now,
And then, go ahead. Sorry, Greg.
no, go ahead. We're going to have this weird delay thing going with the Zoom, so go ahead.
No, and the next thing, obviously, is anytime you go into a retail store, not quite as much right now as we're still hopefully coming out of this COVID thing, but as you go into a retail store, all of the commercial opportunities that exist, where all of the factories that are built and all the warehouses that store all the stuff that we buy on Amazon, I mean, all that stuff has to be powered, and it takes way different types of power and different amounts of power to do that. And so the commercial application for electrical engineering and electrical installing all across the board is gigantic right now. So gigantic.
Oh, yeah. All you got to do is drive out by Plainfield. They're constantly building new distribution centers, warehouses, all that kind of stuff. So let's move from residential, commercial, maintenance. Let's move into industrial, because this stuff fascinates the living daylights out of me.
Now, and I'm so excited. I actually met somebody that was mildly involved from an industrial standpoint. And I don't know if this falls under industrial, but I'm going to lump it in there. But the solar project out at the Indianapolis International Airport, like, this was a massive project. I mean, just pull it up on the Google Maps. You can see how many different solar panels are out there. And from an industrial standpoint, being able to power massive projects is so available right now, because again, think of how much massive industry is happening all around the world. Again, you and I are in Indianapolis, but you drive downtown and you take one look around, and there is massive industry happening everywhere, and every single piece of that is being powered by something.
Right. And the old days of, and we still use coal power, but the old
Yep.
days of having to power everything by coal, or they're just gone. There's so many different opportunities out there. There's hydroelectric, which, who did the first hydroelectric dam? Anybody?
Anybody?
Nikola Tesla. That's right. I'm just saying. You look, Tesla was a whack job. He actually thought one of the pigeons at the end of his life that he fed was his wife, but he was brilliant. But yeah, so the industrial, the giant power plants, you talk about driving by the airport. That's why Indianapolis Airport won so many awards when it was built, because of its green energy, right? Its use of natural light. When I lived in northern Illinois, I went to a golf course. Back then I had time to play golf. And I used to drive by a nuclear plant. And when I say by it, I mean within 500 yards of the gate, right? And I would just marvel at the giant, and I'm not a fan of nuclear, don't get me wrong, but just at the giant thing, this engineering monstrosity that had to come together in order to produce energy the way they did. It's fascinating.
No, I totally agree. And, going from a big scale like what you're talking about right now, all the way down to a small scale here. But again, talking about opportunities. And again, we're doing the show just to kind of shed some light on opportunities that exist within this particular field. But think about this real quick. I mean, 20 years ago, you didn't see this, but starting about 5, 10 years ago, you did, starting with like movies like Fast and the Furious. But think of all the low voltage electrical lights that exist like under cars that you use underneath your cabinet lights. Hell, I was in Walmart the other day and saw, you can buy low voltage lights that go under your cabinets for about $8 now.
Yeah.
And think of the person who invented that idea of just a low voltage light that could be powered by, perhaps a battery, could be just plugged into your electrical system, could be powered by an outlet. But again, small applications. So talking about low voltage things that again exist within the electrical field. I mean, heck, I spent $28 and I bought a kit for LED lights to go on my motorcycle that I had. If I had a picture and I had planned ahead a little bit more, I'd sent that to Jason. But I thought it was cool as hell. And I got all these compliments when I would ride my motorcycle at night for, having these LED lights underneath the headlights, like a lot of the, BMWs and Audis do right now as well. So just all these applications for low voltage electrical use as well are so out there. And think of all the places you see that, like on, security applications as you go through an airport. We've been talking about that on planes, on boats, all these different places where you see low voltage lights at that can just simply be powered on or plugged in or powered by batteries, etc.
That is also a specialty.
And so is. Yeah, you're so right.
And another huge one, and this will be near and dear to your heart because you raced cars, I'm sure worked on cars, built cars, but is automotive electrical. That is its own industry at this point. Am I right?
It's literally an entire industry, and not to mention the battery opportunities that are just exploding within that right now. I mean, how many? I don't know this fact, but if we Googled it, I'm sure Jason could in 2 seconds. How many different car manufacturers are going to have a full battery-powered car available here within the next 12 months? I can think of 3 right off the top of my head that already do, and I know that other companies are in development of that technology as well. So the opportunities, for electrical, understanding how to make things work with electricity within the automotive industry is going to entirely explode. Not to mention aviation and several other, transportation-related industries.
And the next one, this is one of my favorites. Not that I want to do it, but Lineman.
It's hard work. That is hard work.
Dude, I watched a special, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, right? And they were showing these guys in Texas that were linemen. Now, because of the expanse and the amount of ground these things cover, thanks to these high tension wires, thanks to Tesla, the servicemen would go out and they would service them hanging down from a helicopter.
Yeah.
That was so cool to watch.
I would love to do that job. That'd be so awesome.
I would not, because I would probably fall. But that, and there's a company, one of my kids actually looked at it, and I can't think of the name of it, but they were paying to send you to training somewhere. I think it was actually in Texas, for months to become a lineman. They need them so badly, and they can't find people willing to work. I can find you 1,000 people that got degrees in, I don't know, Russian art history or underwater dance theory, but finding somebody that wants to actually go out and work and make a 6-figure income by the time they're 25, they're hard to find. But I digress.
Well, and I want to just kind of piggyback on that because you just said something right there that just kind of sparked the memory. And I remember literally being in 6th grade, and there was a girl in my class at that time whose older brother, and a little bit older, I think he was like young 20s at the time, and he had just gotten into being a lineman. And, he was climbing the poles, he was doing the work on things like that, going up in the truck and doing all of that type of work to make sure that things actually happened, that the electrical actually flowed, right? And this dude he came in to just let people know about what, just like you and I are doing right now, just to let, kids know about an opportunity. I remember this would be 1993. And this dude was making $25 an hour in 1993 doing this work. I mean, that's decent money today. That's insane money back then because, to a point that you illustrated earlier, this guy was 3 years on the job. He was willing to do the helicopter stuff that you just mentioned. and making I mean, that's $60,000 back then. That's 30 years ago now. I mean, that's close to, I mean, being 3 years on the job, making six figures in today's world with inflation. I mean, it's great income that costs you no money to get that education to go do it, because they will literally pay you to do it because nobody will go do that work.
Right.
And it's so needed right now. Just like you could go get that job right now. I don't care who you are, if you're willing to learn how to do it and show up every day on time and actually do what you say you're going to do. So,
and it seems to be a recurring theme with all the trades we're talking about, right? I hope y'all that are listening or watching or whatever you're doing, however you're consuming this information, I hope that you're picking up on that. If you're willing to work, if you want to learn a trade, you can make a crap ton of money by learning the job, showing up, and doing what you say you're going to do. Am I right?
that's so true. And I'm going to use myself as an example with that right now. But, 10 years ago now, I had been in real estate. I got out for a couple of years after the recession of 2008, 2009. So I'm 2009 now, and I got into the trades field. I went to work for a good sized roofing company that did things really, really well. I learned something, and then fast forward 7 years after not having done it, I was able to pick up the ball and go again right away, because again, you learn a skill that you keep forever,
right?
That will transcend, moving from Indianapolis to Cincinnati, or moving from market to market, time over time, because it's a skill that you learn. And once you learn it, all you have to do is just brush up on it a little bit, and you're going to be in good shape. And that's what's so awesome about the trades. Once you know a little bit about electrical work, you don't just forget that and quit learning how to wire an outlet together. So
right.
If all hell breaks loose and you lose your job at 48 years old and you can't go get another one, well, guess what? If you know how to fix electrical outlets, I can give you 3 people that have that problem right now that I can't get somebody to show up for, and do it for a fair price, like $125 an outlet. That literally takes, I don't know, Greg, how long to change an outlet? 3 minutes? 3.5
minutes, yeah.
Right. So $125 in 3.5 minutes, including drive time. So call it 30. Oh, that's really bad. Anyway, I digress.
Well, and I'll tell you a story. Back in 1990, I moved out to central Nebraska. And long story short, I worked at a factory for a while. They did a shutdown. I didn't realize they did that in automotive parts plants. So now I got no work. Of course, I'm 20, so I didn't budget my money. I just spent whatever I made every week. So I got a job with an electrician. On the weekends, I drove a lumber truck for a lumber yard, and I worked for this guy only about 3 weeks, and there were several problems with working with this particular guy. But to your point, Ryan, what I learned working with him, fast forward 20 years almost, I start my own remodeling business. 15 years. Anyway, point being, I'm flipping houses, and there's things that I was able to do that I didn't have to call in an electrician for, from what I learned back in 3 weeks in 1990. If that guy hadn't have been different to work with, and had I been there a couple of years, I could have gone out and made a living as an electrician anywhere. I wouldn't now. I know my limitations, right? But so let's jump off of that, because we can go back and forth between soapboxes all day long, and by the end of it, we'll both be going, ee. But before we get into your bailiwick, I want to talk about the other important element that's a specialty trade in electrical, and that is power station and substation, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. And how does that work from a power station standpoint, a substation standpoint? It's like all that electricity has to be generated somewhere. It has to go somewhere. It has to be stored somewhere, right? So let's dive in. Like, what's that look like? Because I don't know a whole lot about that degree of electrical work. I don't know many people that work in that industry. What thoughts do you have there, Greg?
Well, not to get too dude about it, but at a substation, you got to manage the flow. You can't. What? Nobody? Jason's like, why? I don't know how to say this. When the power comes through, right, it can't be too low, or you'll have brownouts or rolling brownouts. It can't be too high, or you could fry parts of the grid and parts of people's homes. So the guy at the substation, or the gal, and that's another quick sidebar. I've been around the trades my whole adult life. Most of what I see is men in the trades. If you're a female out there listening, have no illusion. The trades are for you too. And I think the trades would benefit and probably be classed up a little bit. Ryan, you and I have been on enough job sites if we had some more females on the job sites, right?
would highly
But
concur with that.
there is absolutely nothing about the trades that say it's a man's world. And
No, in fact, it's so interesting you say that. I mean, again, complete side note, but I was just on a roof 2 days ago with a insurance adjuster, and we were looking at a hail claim, and this lady was in her mid-20s, exceptionally had been doing this for a while, and was just making a truckload of money. I mean, after you talk to somebody and you're on a roof for 30 minutes with somebody, you get to having conversations, and like was literally as busy as she could possibly be because she was willing to do something most people weren't willing to do, which was get on roofs and like learn to be an insurance adjuster. And so being in your mid-20s and making a strong 6-figure income was really, really awesome to talk to her about. And it was just, again, it was just somebody that chose to do something different that most people weren't willing to do, that was a handful of years in making an insane income. And I was like, it was encouraging to talk to her. I really enjoy people like that.
And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And so, but back up to the power station substation thing. So power stations, all of them, we're both having ADD moments. It's fantastic when we're live. And Jason looks like he's ready to throw me out of the studio. But anyway, with the power stations, every power station generates electricity different, right? Be it hydro, nuclear, coal, natural gas fired, solar, whatever it is. So you have to have somebody that understands not only that technology, but also can manage the generation and the flow of the electricity. It's another specialty area. The last specialty area I want to talk about, because we just don't have time to go through all 23, is something that's near and dear to your heart, solar. Why don't you bring us all up to speed a little bit on solar?
So it's, believe it or not all that complicated. You've got a panel that is designed to, basically capture the sunlight that turns it into DC current. That DC current goes down, which is, generated one way. It goes down into an inverter box or a micro inverter, whatever system you want to install. And that's what then transitions it into, which is something you can use within your house. And then you just plug it into your circuit breaker box and you're good to go. And it works both ways. So it powers your house when it's working, but it's not doing anything when it's not working. So at nighttime, a solar system is not generally, generating any power. It's not costing you anything. But the second the sun comes up, now all of a sudden the meter on your house starts to work the other way and you're saving money. So it's a relatively simple concept that, believe it or not, it's becoming more and more economical to install. And if you're going to stay in your house for a period of years, I think it makes a ton of sense, especially with how efficient new panels are. What I mean by efficient is, simply they produce about 100% of what they're capable of. So we installed a 400 watt panel today, and under ideal conditions, it's going to generate 100% of that. And after only 25 years, so 25 years from now, it's still going to be working at 85% of that capacity. So the technology is just insane. It's not going to it's going to quit working after 25 years. It's just going to be about 15% reduced power.
Nice.
This is something that's going to continue to work for a long, long time.
Because I'll tell you what.
Well, after you've paid for it.
I'll tell you what, in 25 years, I'll be working at a much more reduced capacity. Jason, we had a question pop up. We'll get to that at the end of the show because that's a little bit different than what we're talking about right now. It's not on my screen anymore. But anyway, let's jump in quick to education. And this is really simple. Oh, my God, it's so beautifully simple. It makes me tear up a little bit. You need a high school diploma or a GED.
Yeah. Then you go work with somebody for a few years.
Right. You go on-the-job training through an apprenticeship. There's union and non-union apprenticeships. And then if you want, you pick a specialty and you go down that path. Could it be any more beautiful?
Yeah, that's pretty simple.
Now,
pretty simple. So, yeah, and that didn't cost you anything.
Well, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about what you're going to get paid while you're doing that.
Absolutely. So, when you get started in this, and again, if you want, there's so many different paths that you can take once you're going, but just getting started, the average introductory rate, hey, I want to show up on time and do what you tell me to do every day, you're going to get paid $15 an hour, just a minimum to do that every day.
Yep.
And just learn. You're going to start about $15 an hour. And I can promise you this, that if you do that and you want to learn a little bit every day on top of that, that pay is going to dramatically start going up because so few people are willing to do that. And again, it seems so small, but anyway, I don't want to digress into another story. Yet when you do those three small things consistently, your opportunity to earn goes up dramatically. And, after just a few short years, Greg, I mean, you're earning just under six figures. I mean, the average income's what, around $80,000? Is that right?
Yeah, for a master electrician. And just like when we talked with HVAC, and if you all stay tuned for kind of like realtor. If you stay tuned as we go through these different trades, you're going to see a recurring theme, and that is recession proof. Many of them are. Long-term potential, all of them have it. And the ability to, after 4 or 5 years of on-the-job training and learning your craft, the ability to start your own company, work for yourself, and ultimately, like you and I talk all the time, Ryan, control your own destiny by working for yourself.
Well, and that's just it. I'm super passionate about that. I certainly realize it's not for everybody working for yourself. There's lessons in growth that exist there, but you can also hire coaches and get past some of those lessons a little more quickly sometimes. But ultimately, I mean, working for yourself, I think, is the freedom that a lot of people are ultimately looking for. Being able to do what you want, when you want, with who you want is most people's definition of success. And you don't get that by working for somebody else. You can certainly get paid well and handsomely working for somebody else. But if you want to take off for a month, or you just want to stay home with your kids for 6 months, you don't get that by working for somebody else. That's why I'm so passionate about people taking the opportunity to do what they want to do. And learning a trade is a great way to start your own business. And anyway, I digress. I just am so passionate about that. I believe in that. And if more people took the time to, get paid to learn a little bit, learning a skill like being a master electrician, oh my gosh, the opportunity in 10, 15 years is limitless for what you can do and what you can create.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I just want to encourage you guys. And Ryan, you and I talked about this earlier this morning. I talked to 2 electricians this week that are friends of mine. And just like with Mike last week with the HVAC, they really, really wanted to come on the show and talk about the trade because they're passionate about it. It's what they do. Both of them were so busy, they couldn't break off to even Zoom call like you're doing to talk to us. So the opportunity's there.
And that's it, is, and the people that I know you have talked to, Greg, are not the people who don't show up. They're the people who absolutely show up. It's just simply they're busy at 5 o'clock on a Friday when we're, recording the show. And certainly we respect that. But that's also, like you said, it's such an encouraging sign because there is just an infinite amount of opportunity that is going to exist. And then if you start asking yourself some questions like, wow, how could I do this? Then you can figure out new opportunities like, as we've talked about throughout the show with like the low voltage lights under cars or motorcycles, or hell, NASCAR did that, a few weeks ago at Bristol, they had lights under the car. So just so many little things that exist within this specific industry. It's awesome. It's awesome. So I'm encouraged. I hope everybody takes something away from that. And just, again, if you want to figure out how things work, the electrical trade is so amazing right now and not that hard.
No, it's really not. It's not easy, but it's not complicated, right?
Exactly.
And before we bow tie up this episode, we did have a question come in that I kind of want to jump on for a minute because it's one of my favorite questions. Jade asked, what do you think the biggest mistake homeowners make when fixing up their home before putting it on the market? My answer to that, and then I'll let you answer, Ryan. My answer is they fix up their home to their taste, not to the taste of the average buyer. Ryan Herget, what say you?
I would totally agree with what you just said. And I think you really have to educate yourself before you choose to sell your house, before you choose to put it on the market. You really have to have one of those look in the mirror moments. And that's objectively look at your house relative to what are the other houses similar to it selling for. Because it's going to tell you, you can literally tell yourself within 5 minutes of talking with a high quality real estate agent and reviewing the comparable sales as to what do you need to do to get your house sold for X amount of dollars.
Yep.
And there's a point to where you don't need to spend any more money. Like, man, you don't need to necessarily go out there and, I don't know. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but spend $1,500 on a light fixture that you like. To your point, Greg. Making it about you, because that's not what it's about. I sold my house and I didn't even hang a light that I planned on hanging because, quite frankly, nobody cares and it's capped off.
And and here's the thing: if you can't find a highly qualified, talented real estate agent, Call me.
Oh, Greg.
Anyway.
Give Greg a call.
But
He'll walk you through that process in just a few simple steps.
And I'll tell you and I'll tell Jade, look, there was a client back when I was a contractor, long story short, their house was going to be at max $125,000 out the door. Mm-hmm. So they had me come in and do some work to get their house ready to sell. Their kitchen cabinets needed work. They were horrible particle board cabinets. They had fallen apart. So we replaced them with off-the-shelf cabinets. She wanted me to put granite countertops in.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense.
And I said, why do you want me to put granite in? She's like, well, I love granite. I'm like, okay, but you're not going to live here. Somebody else is, and you're wasting your money. Let's pick neutral colors, neutral countertops, neutral everything to appeal to the most buyers. Am I right?
I think you just hit the nail on the head is when you choose to invest a dime in your house after the point in which you decide that you don't want it anymore and you're moving, then you have to objectively look at every dollar that you spend. You have to look at it from, okay, what do most people want? What's going to garner the highest return on investment for every dollar that you spend? Because otherwise, why are you doing it? And if that dollar that you're spending begins with, oh, well, I like, then you have to stop right there. You have to do what you said, Greg, because it's not about you at that point. It's about if getting top value is your goal, you are no longer important in this equation, and it's about appealing to the masses.
Right.
So,
well, back to Jade. So she asked, so no maroon walls. Answer to that question, Jade, is hard no. No maroon, no dark green, no Barney purple. And yes, I did once go in to remodel a house where the entire master suite was Barney purple. That's a big no bueno. You want neutral colors. Ryan, I see your mouth moving, but I got no audio, bro.
Oh, nothing?
Oh, no. Dude, that's weird. I'm looking at my other screen, and there's a little bit of a delay that freaked me out. And to Doug.
Don't watch the Facebook live feed. There's like a 10-second delay. So
well, that's how I'm able to go back to the comments. It's kind of funny. Now I'm like.
I could throw them up on the little monitor for you.
This one?
Yes.
I don't even know what's going on anymore.
Doug, I agree to the point. Do not create a specialty look for your house. Your taste may be open enough that new owners can work with the look. Right. Do not create a specialty look. And really, the right real estate professional will be able to help walk you through that. The right paint colors, the right carpet colors. Ryan, what is the number one paint color we use and everybody uses?
Pavilion beige and agreeable gray.
That's it. That's all you need to know. Pavilion beige and agreeable gray. Anyway.
They go with everything. So
to those that Jade was messing with us. That's hilarious. About the maroon. But anyway, to those of you that made comments, appreciate it. Appreciate the questions. We always look forward to hearing from you. If you have questions about the electrical trade, if you're thinking about getting into it, contact me or Ryan. We would love to help you, connect you with the right people. We know tradespeople all day long that are saying if you know anybody that'll come to work, show up, and is willing to learn, hook them up. So that's our nut on that. Ryan, what are we going to talk about next time?
Next week, I don't know, Greg. I don't have that in front of me right now, so I apologize for being not prepared as I should be when you ask me questions like that.
So, are you all wet on that question?
I'm going to go ahead and pass that one by to you, Greg. Greg, so let me ask you on the next episode of Blue Collar Real Estate, what's our topic? What can our audience expect to take away?
Are you all wet on that one, Ryan? Plumbing, the world of plumbing. I love plumbing, and we'll talk about that next time. So. For Blue Collar Real Estate, I'm Greg Mayo.
And I'm Ryan Herget. We'll quit stuttering over one another because we have this little delay right now. And we thank everybody. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. We definitely enjoy hearing from you every single week. And until next week, we'll talk soon.
Take care.